Welcome to another episode of Soap Thing Thoughts. Joining me today is John Bonham of Cape Cod Wet Shaving. Welcome to the Soap Thing Project. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We've been trying to put this together for a minute, so it's nice to finally have you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So tell us, I ask this to every wet shaver I have on the show. How did you get into wet shaving on camera? How did that get started?
So I ended up buying a soap from a friend of mine, AA Shaving, Austin, and I had asked him if he had ever had anyone do a video for him. I'd kind of been toying with the concept of doing it for maybe a month, and he had said no. So I decided to give it a shot. I did a quick review. It was terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. I think I had water running through the thing, through most of it. But I did that, and then I realized I liked it, and it was actually kind of therapeutic for me more than anything. So I just started trying to fire off one whenever I could, and then it just became a slow routine of mine eventually.
You tend to do these obscure history lessons on your videos. How did that get started?
Yes. So that was completely coincidental. I had maybe 3 or 4 videos, and I went back and watched them, and I noticed that I was just kind of trailing off, just talking about the same thing, wasn't really doing a lot, and that bothered me because there's really no reason to watch it otherwise. So I happened to be on Wikipedia, and I saw this article for a little airplane that had crashed into the Empire State Building, which was years and years ago, early 1900s. And I just figured, you know what, I'll just talk about that. And I immediately got a good response after I put that out. And a lot of people thought, that's really neat. I've never seen that before.
That's awesome, man. I really enjoy the fact that you don't do obvious history. You do lesser known stuff that has kind of been, well, I guess lost to history more or less. Stuff that people don't tend to know about, nitty-gritty details and things like that. Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's generally what I try to aim for that exact reason. Because a lot of people, hopefully, they'll watch it and think, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that."
All right, now you picked the topic of, well, the question rather of, are there too many artisans in the wet shaving industry right now? I have my own thoughts on how I feel about that. What do you think?
It's funny because after I picked this, I thought about it, and I was like, I hope I didn't pick something that might be a little, because I mean, it can go in any direction, and some people would probably be a little passionate on the opinion. But mine personally is, I don't think there are too many, or that there could be, because I think it's really, I mean, aside from it being an open market and all that stuff, I personally like finding new artisans, and people I've spoken with who have been in this for a long time have told me just how it's insurmountable how many artisans there are now versus what there used to be when it started becoming popular.
Right. No, that makes sense, and I can respect your opinion. Personally, I am leaning pretty far in the opposite direction. I think, and I've said this before on other videos, I think there are entirely too many artisans, and we might very likely be about to see a bunch of them go under.
Yeah.
In a pretty short space. I'm going to name drop Thomas the Shaver and the Night Watch Soap Company just because I think it's particularly pertinent to this conversation. Now, make no mistake, I want him to be successful, and I hope that he is. I really, really do hope that his brand succeeds in the long term in this space.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that thinks he walked into the wrong bar at the wrong time of day. And I
Yeah,
really do worry that once the honeymoon phase of his brand wears off,
yeah,
it's a giant question mark whether or not there's still going to be a place for him in the market.
yeah.
Like, does that make any sense?
It absolutely does. That's actually a really good analogy. I was going to say because he. It's funny you mentioned Artisans going away because I don't know if you saw Talbot Shaving closed. And I just talked to someone yesterday, and they're a big brand, and they haven't announced it yet, as far as I'm aware. So I don't want to say who it is. I can tell you after, but they're going to announce that they're closing shop as well.
Yeah. There's some big ones that would break my heart to find out that they're not
Yeah.
making soap anymore. I can name a couple of them, off the top of my head. Like if Declaration Grooming said they were going away, I'd be like, oh damn.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
could you imagine?
or if Shannon, well, I don't think Shannon's would go away, but
No.
Declaration Grooming is one of those brands that I need to feature more on the project because I feel like the ones that are going away
Hmm.
are the ones that are being quiet and
Yes,
very few people are using them on camera.
that's true.
Like
And that
if Black Ship Grooming went away, that would be like, whoa, like there's a problem.
that's true. You never see Kelly. I think the last post he did was what 2020.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll talk to you through email pretty quick. He'll answer you, but you never see him on social media at all.
right. Well, I think some of it is after a while, it just like staying hyper engaged in the community or this hobbyist group that we are a part of. It gets to be too much to handle
Yeah.
after a while, and I think I've talked to a lot of wet shavers who do content on YouTube, and they say, "Well, I don't want to use this brand because you never hear from them." So,
Yeah.
like seriously, so what? Like as long as they're making a good product,
Yes.
I don't care if I never hear a word out of them.
Yeah.
If
Same
they're
here.
making a good product that is advancing the hobby and adding more to the equation, then at a certain point, once you get to where you've been around for a while, I think a lot of artisans tend to just kind of fade back into the bushes a little bit.
Yeah. I would agree with that because I did. I'm a talker. I love talking to people, as you know. I'll reach out and I'll chat with anyone. And I remember early on, I would almost get offended if someone wouldn't answer me or they just, you know, like American Shaving Co. is a great example. If you don't talk business, you don't want to talk to you. And I took it personally, and I had a friend say, "Well, what's the point of taking it personal? You didn't do anything to you. You just didn't talk. Not everyone's a talker."
Right.
So I do agree with that one.
Um, One of the things, speaking of people not being talkers, one of the reasons I think there might be too many artisans in the space right now is because I think, believe it or not, a lot of artisans are not paying attention to each other. Like I was talking to one artisan a while back. This had to have been maybe a year ago, I don't know, somewhere around about a year ago. And I was talking to an artisan who admittedly I enjoy very much, and he happened to mention that he was about to release a scent that was a dupe of Safari from Ralph Lauren. And I happened to mention, oh, there's this other artisan who's coming out with the exact same scent around about the same time you are. And the response I got was, I didn't even know who that person was until you brought it up.
Oh,
And I'm like, seriously? Like,
wow.
like this other artisan that you didn't know was even there until 5 seconds ago, they are way the hell more well known than you.
Yeah.
It's like how do you not like know who your competition is? And not to be disrespectful, but
Yeah.
I there's getting to be a lot of redundancy in the market, and part of it might be because a lot of artisans who are cranking out scents are not looking around at the rest of the landscape to see who's doing what. They're just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah.
And so it
That's
results in a lot of, I hate to keep using that word, but redundancy in the market. And then I don't think either of those soap makers are making that cent anymore.
oh, I see.
Because I don't think there was room for more than one in the market. And when you push two of them in there, it just kind of fizzles
Yeah.
out. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I get out of it.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that actually. Well, I was going to say, how many Aventus dupes are there out there?
Probably dozens.
Yeah.
I mean, I am fairly confident that when it comes to mainstream artisans that are well-known names, I think
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure there's more of a making Aventus type sense than there are making sandalwood or lime scents or
Yeah.
other basic sense. But you got to give credit to Creed for coming up with that sort of scent. It was the right scent at the right time,
Yeah.
and there was no way that was not going to creep its way into the wet shaving industry. I mean, Creed Aventus came out in 2010, and I think in the space of a couple of years, Sterling already had a dupe of it.
Yeah. That would
Like
sound about right.
it happened very quickly. So I want to agree with you that there's plenty of room in the market, but the amount of artisans that are closing up shop tells me differently. Now, an obvious counter argument to this would be, well, artisans go out of business every year.
Yeah.
Yes, but I am seeing personally a lot of them going out of business in a very condensed space. Like it's all of a sudden.
Now, do you think it's due to like Walmart closing the mom and pop shop kind of thing, like edging them out of the market, or is it just like too saturated?
My honest opinion, and this is just anecdotal,
Yeah.
but I think that this hobby is not as big as people think it is, and it's not growing as fast as people think it is. And so therefore, um, the hobby is kind of reaching the end of its rope, and a lot of people are getting overextended all
Hmm.
at the same time. Like, how many people have you talked to this year that say they're on a buying freeze, or at the very least that they're going to slow down?
Quite a few.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. And I honestly think a lot of people are blaming it on the supply chain issues and inflation and
Yeah.
cost of raw materials going up and stuff like that. I think that's definitely some of it.
Hmm.
But I think a good bit of this retraction and reduction in the amount of artisans was always going to happen at about this time,
Yeah.
no matter what.
I see.
Because at a certain point, the bubble bursts. I made an analogy that when I was talking to a previous person who I had on the show that hasn't aired yet at the time this is being filmed, but I happened to mention that it almost seems like there's going to be this like housing bubble 2008 style kind of burst
Yeah.
in this industry because it grew too much too fast.
Yeah. The
Uh,
bigger they are, harder they fall, kind of thing.
yeah, well, so I hope I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, I've been right so far. And I sometimes I hate it when I'm right. I really am. It just it sucks to see all these people just starting to go away,
Yeah.
especially when a lot of them like I was talking to Angora soaps a while back, and they said, yeah, the ingredients are getting to where they're too expensive.
Yeah.
And
I've
he
heard that.
said, I always wanted this to be an affordable product, and rather than raising my prices, he said, on principle, I'm just going to go away because I don't want to raise my prices. That is not what I brought my products here to do.
Hmm.
And it was sad to see him go because he had a lot of scents that I thought were amazing. His midnight lavender scent was amazing. He had a really good Tom Ford ombre leather dupe. He had a really
Yeah.
fascinating scent that was kind of a Mediterranean style, kind of citrusy, floral sort of thing. That dude was good at making good scents.
I didn't know he even closed. Is he
Well,
really?
he just kind of quietly stopped, and he's like, I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm going to be back or not. But he's like, right now, this just isn't
I
working.
see. I
So
have
I don't know if you noticed, but I don't know if he took his website down or not, but he doesn't have any products on his website, and nothing's available as far as I know. And I reached out to him and asked, it's like, are you going away? He's like, yeah, at least for now. I think he made
wow.
an announcement at one point. He kind of quietly said, this is about to be the end of it.
I had no idea. I have Olympus, I think is the set that I have from him. I really liked
Yeah,
it.
yeah, so do I. And yeah, there's some other artisans that are behaving in a way that would lead you to believe something bad's about to happen. Um,
Yeah.
this isn't a math equation, so don't quote me on this. But generally, when an artisan is about to fold up and go away, you won't hear from them for a really long time, and then you'll start to
Mhm.
notice that nothing's in stock
Yes.
for long periods of time. Like it slowly dries up,
Yep.
and then they finally make an announcement that hey, I'm packing this one up and I'm getting out of here. Uh, one of the ones I'm worried about at the moment is Highland Springs, just because at least at the
Oh,
time this is being filmed, it's hard to find their products anywhere. Now maybe they're getting ready to ratchet it up and crank out a bunch of products, but it's one of those things where it almost makes you want to buy more of their stuff because it's just like if they're gonna go under, then better
yep.
grab their stuff while there's still a bit of stock,
Yeah.
to grab. Otherwise, it's kind of one of those funny things where whenever PAA, for example, says, hey, we're taking this scent out of the rotation, it's not going to be back for a couple of years. Everybody bum rushes it and buys the hell out of it.
Yeah, they do.
So again, I hope I'm wrong, but there's a couple other artisans where they don't have any products available. A good counter argument to that might tear my own logic apart. I'm just playing devil's advocate with myself. Is Mike's natural soaps,
Hmm.
because he's been doing like one batch at a time and like waiting for it to sell out for quite a while. Nobody's heard much from him. He'll do like one batch of soap and then like a month or two later he'll do another batch, and he's been teetering right on the edge of what conventional wisdom would say is somebody who's about to give up, and he keeps hanging in there. It's kind of funny. I
Yeah.
love his stuff, but it's a business practice that doesn't inspire a ton of confidence.
Yeah.
So
And, well, I don't think I've ever tried him, honestly. But he sounds
but
like he gets small batch of new meaning
yeah,
if he's
Mike's
doing it that
natural
way.
soaps is it doesn't his stuff doesn't look that interesting, and his scents are kind of basic,
Yeah,
but they're very good scents, and his soap base is a damn good soap base. I will tell you that.
that's cool.
So, but yeah, what are your some of your thoughts on just kind of some of the, I don't want to say scary, but the kind of behavior going on in the industry right now that makes one get nervous.
As far as the artisans,
Yeah.
um, I think you're dead on with the low stock thing. I think you're absolutely right about that because the person I mentioned before, that's exactly the case with them. If you look, they're completely out of stuff. Um, I don't know. I for the longest time I've been saying I'm kind of new. I'm not, there are people who've been here longer. I don't really have. I don't think I've been here long enough to have an opinion, but I've been in this for 3 years now, and I've seen Talbot, K Shave Works, the one coming up, and not Mickey Lee. but I heard about Mickey Lee, and that was a good one I missed out on. Um, I think I agree because I've also heard from, because I'm friends with a couple of the vendors, and they said that they've also been ordering less than normal. And the artisans I know have said that they've been making less than normal,
Right.
if that helps.
Yeah, and again, there's lots of theories on why that is, but the bottom line is, selling less products is never good if you're hoping to
No.
stay in business, especially if that's your livelihood. Like if you're somebody like
Yeah.
PAA or A&E, and that's what puts bread on the table. That's not a good sign for what lies ahead. Like again, I want to believe that we're going to see good things in the future, and I think we
Yeah.
are, but I am fairly confident that there's going to be a retraction in the wet shaving market, and part of me almost thinks that maybe that's as it should be.
Maybe.
I mean, you hate to see some of these artisans go, I can't do this anymore because they made a good product and it resonated with you like on some personal
Mhm.
level. But
Oh,
then
absolutely.
the other side of your brain says, well, if they could barely cut it when things were going well, and they absolutely can't cut it when things go just slightly sideways, well, maybe they shouldn't have been around to begin with. And people are going to yell at me and get mad at me for that, but it's just like at a certain point, everybody can't be in the elevator all at once.
Yeah.
There's a fire hazard occupancy restriction that has to kind of take place, if that makes any sense. Like everybody can't
Yeah.
pile in that elevator all at once. There ain't room.
Just wait your turn.
Yeah. Having said that, what are some artisans, just to keep the conversation going for a little bit
Sure.
longer, what are some artisans that would make your head explode if you found out they were going away? Like you're just like, what?
Oh, so I said earlier Sterling. I think I'll say Sterling. McDuff's. That's another one. Um, Probably PAA.
Yeah.
I
Those
would
are,
be
yeah, those are
incredulous.
some of the big ones. I mean, Sterling and PAA would be an extreme shock to the system
Yeah.
just because they're so big.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I think McDuff's would be heart wrenching just because their soap is so damn good.
Yeah. I agree.
Like how does such a phenomenal product not carry its own weight? Like that would be shocking to a lot of people. Um, for me personally, I wouldn't freaking believe it if Shannon's went out. Uh,
That's true. Or Zingari.
is Zingari man? Yeah, I could see Zingari man being a big shock to the system. I could see that being a really surprising revelation if that were to happen. Murphy and McNeil would probably
Oh
drive me
yeah.
crazy if they went away, just because for so many reasons they're my all time favorite artisan and have been for a while. I just don't know what I'd do if they went away. So I guess the moral of this story, as long as we're going to complain about this stuff, we ought to have a call to action. What I think people ought to do, as we see more and more of these artisans close, is start to stack in metaphorical sandbags. If you got an artisan that you're real passionate about, instead of spreading your purchases around here, there, and all over the place, you might consider just kind of dumping it all into one place just to keep them afloat. I mean, we can't keep everybody afloat, so
That's true.
sometimes you gotta focus on the ones that you really really want to see stick around for a while. Sometimes you gotta vote with your wallet.
That's true. Well, one thing that doesn't help is some of the purchases you make are meant to last quite a while. That's another thing. Because once you have it, you're going to have it for a while until it's used up. Technically, the jar of soap, or longer if it's a puck.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you'll be limited in. I mean, I would assume in not purchasing it again unless you needed it.
Right. And I've talked about this with other people. I really think the artisans that are smart are going
Mhm.
to start making smaller and smaller size tubs of soap,
Yeah.
just so that us hobbyists can burn through it and then move on to
Yep.
another one or a different scent. Like that doesn't do me any favors if I'm a more utilitarian shaver and it's just like, you know what? I got my lavender scent and that's all I'm ever going to use. Well, then a 4 or 5 ounce container is just perfectly fine for you.
Yeah.
And then when you burn through that, then you'll reach around and grab another one, you know? So,
Yeah.
but if you're a hobbyist and you're trying to experience a lot of things in a fairly short amount of time, then a 2.5 ounce or a 2 ounce or even a 1 ounce container, is almost going to be more attractive than a 4 ounce container, even if the price doesn't necessarily scale proportionately.
Yeah.
Like I just happen to have this sitting here for no particular reason, but this is Katie's Bubbles.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that particular scent,
Me neither.
but this is basically like it smells like Sprite, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is a 2 ounce tub, so a normal puck of soap will tend to last 3-4 months. This will last a month and a half or 2 months, and I'm moving on to something else. And so this is a clever idea that Katie's has been doing for a while.
Is smaller tubs,
Yeah.
because Heritage Hill they started switching to 3 ounce. I noticed 3 ounces are starting to kind of become more popular.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3 ounces are very popular with Heritage Hill. The Razor Company does a lot of 3 ounce tubs. So, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I think Jason's actually coming out with private label soap as well.
Interesting. I
So
mean,
he's going to have.
I guess I shouldn't be super surprised. That sounds like something Jason would do, but that's interesting. I'm gonna be curious to see what he comes out with.
Me too. I had no idea you were from Michigan.
Yeah, I'm from
As many
Antrim County in northern Michigan.
as many times as we've spoken, dude, I've never. For some reason, I thought you were from one of the Carolinas or something. I was actually born in Warren, Michigan, right outside of Detroit.
That's where my dad lives currently.
Oh, that's cool.
So
And
yeah,
then,
he lived most of his life in northern Michigan in the Grand Traverse area, and then when United Tech and Lear finally kind of left that area, that kind of put him in a position where it was just like he either had to find a new line of work or he had to move
yeah,
down to southeast Michigan. So the biggest thing I miss is just like the crystal clear water and the fact that, like once you get north of Clare, Michigan is mostly wilderness. It's a lot of
yeah,
forests, a lot of lakes. You got the Great Lakes, these crystal clear bodies of water.
yeah,
It's just amazing. If you own a boat in that state, it's pretty much going to last forever because it's
yeah.
fresh water instead of salt water.
Because there's an explorer, and I can't remember who you might know. He called the Great Lakes the seas of sweet water. I can't remember who that was.
I didn't know that. I'll have to
Yeah.
look that up.
Um, well, a friend of mine, we lived in Maine back in the Coast Guard days. He was from Maine, my old boss, and he transferred. He PCS to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and he loved it. He said it reminded him like it was just like Maine except freshwater.
Yeah.
Just fishing vessels and little ports and
Yeah,
big
I know
fishing.
some crusty old Air Force guys who were stationed at KI Sawyer up in Marquette before it got closed down. And they said that was the best assignment they ever had. It was a strategic air command. It was a B-52 base.
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
And Yeah, it was just kind of up in the sticks, up in the wilderness. There was lots of hiking, skiing, boating.
That's really cool.
It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. It was, the nearest city was probably Green Bay or Milwaukee, and it was quite a bit of a drive, apart
Yeah,
from Marquette, obviously. But yeah, I miss it, not gonna lie.
yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going back there after I get out of the military or not. That remains to be seen. There seems to be a lot of shavers who hang out in Michigan, though.
There's a lot of shavers in Michigan, and there's a lot of artisans from New York, I noticed.
A lot of artisans from New York.
Yeah, I know of three or four off the top of my head.
Yeah, now that you think about it, I think you're probably right on that one.
A couple from Colorado too.
The only one I know from Colorado is 345.
Yeah, there's one other one. I just was thinking about it. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember. Oh, Mix. You ever heard of Mix Grooming?
I have not.
I just came upon them. Let me see if I have one handy.
One of the artisans I'm hoping to see more activity from this year is Southern Witchcrafts. I feel like they've been kind of on cruise control lately.
Yeah,
And
they have too. I haven't seen a lot. I think the last big one they came out with was what, Banana during Halloween.
right.
I haven't
And
seen
yeah,
anything else.
ever since then they've been on cruise control, which is their handful of scents that they've had forever. I'd like to see Arcane Abyss come back, or something like that. Do something
Yeah,
to kind of gin up some enthusiasm. But
definitely.
yeah, there's definitely a lull that's taking place, and it's kind of tough to see. All right, we've talked about that enough.
All right.
Well, John, do you have any kind of parting words of wisdom for the wet shaving hobby before it's time for us to get out of here?
Oh boy. No, just nothing I think of where I won't sound like an arrogant know-it-all or something.
Oh,
Just
you gotta come up with something.
I'll say try not to take it too much to heart if someone tells you you're wrong. There's always a way of doing it your own way as long as it works.
All right.
That's something I think I learned.
Yeah, you're right. And we've all had our fair share of unpopular opinions, and that's the cool thing about me having an opinion is that you can take it or leave it,
Yep.
and it's not going to affect you either way. I'm perfectly happy to give my opinion, give advice and all that, but at the end of the day, it's as the great Chris Bailey always said, it's your shave, do it your way.
Oh yeah.
And unless you're on the extreme edge of really coloring outside the lines, that's pretty much true. Like there is a right and a wrong way to shave, but
Yeah.
there's some wiggle room in there. There's quite a lot of wiggle room for you to find a method that works for you.
Yes.
So don't you ever forget that.
Absolutely.
All right, John. Well, I appreciate you coming on for the short amount of time I have you for. You are welcome back anytime you want to come on. I will go ahead and put John Bonham Keep Cut Wet Shaving in the description of my video, and you should have seen his card towards the beginning of the video, so you can click on that too. There's lots of different ways you can access his content. All right, that'll be the video for today. Questions, comments, put them in the comments section of the video. Otherwise, this is Soap Thing telling you, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.